All right, imagine Earth, a vibrant, teeming world, suddenly hitting a cosmic reset button. Not once, not twice, but 5 separate times. Life on this planet has faced cataclysms so immense they wiped out the vast majority of all species, reshaping the tree of life in ways almost unfathomable. From deep-sea creatures to towering dinosaurs, these weren't just bad days, they were the ultimate bad days, extinguishing entire branches of evolution in the blink of a geological eye. But here's the kicker. After each one, life didn't just survive, it reinvented itself, diversified, and thrived again, often in spectacular new forms. How did our tenacious biosphere manage to pull off such an incredible comeback, time and time again, even when the odds were stacked astronomically high against it? Welcome to the ultimate cosmic survival story, where we're going to dive deep into all 5 of Earth's major mass extinctions, peeling back the layers of physics, biology, genetics, and even a little astronomy to understand not just what killed everything, but more importantly, how life stubbornly refused to stay dead. Let's rewind all the way back to the Ordovician period, roughly 443 million years ago. Imagine a world where complex life was still primarily confined to the oceans. Land was just starting to get interesting, with simple plants and fungi, but the real party was underwater. Then, bam, the Ordovician Silurian extinction hits. This wasn't a sudden, cataclysmic asteroid strike like the one we'll talk about later. This was a slow, agonizing chokehold, primarily driven by climate change, but not the kind you might think. Here's the physics and astronomy angle. The supercontinent Gondwana was drifting over the South Pole. This meant massive ice sheets started to form, sucking up enormous amounts of water from the global oceans. Picture it, sea levels dropping by as much as 100 meters. For shallow marine life, which was the vast majority of complex life at the time, this was a death sentence. Their habitats literally vanished. Coral reefs, trilobites, those ancient armored arthropods that basically owned the Ordovician dance floor, brachiopods, graptolites, all took a massive hit. Then, as if a global freezer wasn't enough, the climate started to warm again. The ice sheets melted, returning all that fresh water to the oceans. Sounds good, right? Wrong. This massive influx of cold, nutrient-rich meltwater profoundly disrupted ocean currents and chemistry. It led to widespread ocean anoxia, meaning vast stretches of the ocean became depleted of oxygen. Imagine trying to breathe in an empty room. Not fun. This 1-2 punch of glaciation and subsequent warming, coupled with anoxia, wiped out an estimated 85% of all marine species. Ouch. Now, a fascinating, albeit speculative, physics and astronomy footnote, some scientists propose that a distant gamma-ray burst might have played a role. GRBs are the most powerful explosions in the universe, typically from supernova or colliding neutron stars. If one happened relatively close to Earth, it could have stripped away a significant portion of our ozone layer, exposing surface life to deadly UV radiation. While there's no direct evidence, it's a terrifying thought, an extinction event triggered by something billions of light years away. Talk about a bad neighborhood. So, how did life survive this cosmic deep freeze and suffocating aftermath? Biology and genetics tell us a story of adaptability. Species that could tolerate deeper, colder waters, or those with wider ecological tolerances, the generalists, not the specialists, fared better. Those with slower metabolisms or the ability to enter dormant states had an advantage. It's like when the party gets too loud and you find a quiet corner to chill, except the party is trying to kill you. When the climate stabilized, these survivors formed the genetic bedrock for the incredible diversification of life in the Silurian period, paving the way for jawed fish and the first true land plants. They essentially hit the reset button on evolution and then sprinted forward. Fast forward about 70 million years to the late Devonian extinction, around 372 million years ago. This one was even more drawn out, potentially spanning millions of years, and consisted of multiple pulses. Again, the oceans bore the brunt. Around 75% of all species, predominantly marine, went extinct. What was going on this time? The prime suspects here are a complex interplay of geology and biology. The Devonian is often called the Age of Fishes, with an explosion of diverse fish species, including the first sharks and ray-finned fish. But it was also a time of massive plant evolution on land. Trees, with their deep root systems, were colonizing continents. This was a game changer. These new superplants started weathering rocks at an unprecedented rate, releasing huge amounts of nutrients into rivers, which then flowed into the oceans. Physics and chemistry lesson? This nutrient overload caused massive algal blooms, think red tides on a global scale. When these algal blooms died, they sank to the bottom, and their decomposition consumed vast amounts of oxygen, leading to even more widespread and prolonged ocean anoxia. Imagine the entire ocean surface choked by green slime, and below, a dead zone. The magnificent reef systems of the Devonian, built by sponges and early corals, were devastated. The iconic placoderm fish, those heavily armored tank-like creatures, were largely wiped out. It's like building a city made of delicious oxygen-sucking snacks and then being surprised when everyone suffocates. Volcanism from large igneous provinces and possibly even asteroid impacts are also considered contributing factors, adding to the climate chaos with ash clouds and greenhouse gases. It was a perfect storm of environmental collapse. Survival? Again, generalists and those adaptable to low oxygen environments had a fighting chance. Some of the early tetrapods, those fascinating creatures transitioning from water to land, show up around this time. Their ancestors likely had advantages that allowed them to survive the anoxic aquatic conditions, perhaps the ability to gulp air or tolerate brackish waters. This extinction event effectively cleared the stage for the next big act, the terrestrial revolution. It's a recurring theme. When one group gets knocked down, another group, often one that was previously marginalized, steps up to fill the void. This genetic resilience, the sheer diversity of life, ensures that something always makes it through. Now brace yourselves, because we're about to hit the big one, the Permian-Triassic extinction, famously known as the Great Dying, around 252 million years ago. This wasn't just an extinction, it was an almost complete reset. An estimated 90 to 96% of all marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrate species vanished forever. In some estimations, 99.5% of individuals died. This was the closest life on Earth has ever come to complete obliteration. If you had an ancestor during this time, consider yourself incredibly lucky. What caused such unprecedented devastation? The prime suspect, an absolute heavyweight in the world of geological catastrophes, is the Siberian Traps, a massive, prolonged volcanic eruption event in what is now Siberia. Over a period of possibly millions of years, an unimaginable volume of magma erupted, covering an area the size of Western Europe. Here's the physics and chemistry nightmare scenario. These eruptions spewed colossal amounts of greenhouse gases, primarily carbon dioxide and methane, into the atmosphere. This triggered runaway global warming, heating the planet by an estimated 5 to 8 degrees Celsius. This warming, in turn, melted vast reserves of methane hydrates on the ocean floor, releasing even more potent greenhouse gas, creating a terrifying feedback loop. The oceans became increasingly acidic as they absorbed atmospheric CO2, dissolving the shells and skeletons of countless marine organisms. The warming also significantly reduced oxygen solubility in water, leading to the most severe and widespread ocean anoxia in Earth's history. It's like the Ordovician and Devonian anoxia, but on steroids, mixed with acid. Some theories even suggest the volcanoes ignited massive coal deposits, pumping even more carbon into the atmosphere and releasing toxic pollutants like mercury. Terrestrial life fared no better. The extreme heat, acid rain, and lack of oxygen created a truly hellish landscape. Forests burned, deserts expanded, and ecosystems collapsed. The dominant synapsids, often called mammal-like reptiles, which included fascinating creatures like Dimetrodon and Gorgonops, were decimated. Insects, notoriously resilient, suffered their only major mass extinction in their entire history. How did anything survive? This is where the biology of resilience truly shines. A creature called Lystrosaurus, a pig-sized synapsid, became the ultimate survivor. It was a tough, burrowing, herbivorous generalist that could apparently tolerate harsh conditions and a low-oxygen environment. Think of it as the cockroach of the Permian, but cuter. Its fossil record is so widespread after the extinction that it's often called a disaster taxon. In the oceans, a few hardy lineages made it through. Some small, deep-dwelling fish, mollusks, and arthropods. Life basically had to restart from scratch with a drastically reduced genetic pool. The Permian-Triassic bottleneck was so severe that it left an indelible mark on the genetics of all subsequent life. For millions of years after, the world was a relatively barren, low-diversity place. But eventually, from these survivors, new forms radiated, setting the stage for the next great act, the Mesozoic era, the age of dinosaurs. Next up, the Triassic-Jurassic extinction, about 201 million years ago. This one is a bit less famous than the Great Dying or the dinosaur killer, but it was still devastating, wiping out an estimated 70 to 75% of all species. This extinction event occurred at the cusp of two of the most iconic geological periods, and it's a brilliant example of how one group's demise can be another's triumph. The main culprit here is another massive volcanic outpouring, the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province, CAMP. As the supercontinent Pangaea began to rip apart, forming the Atlantic Ocean, colossal volumes of lava erupted over a relatively short period. Geologically speaking, of course, we're talking hundreds of thousands to a few million years. This volcanic activity was essentially a precursor to the Atlantic, and it was a geological fireworks show of epic proportions. The physics and chemistry are familiar by now. Huge releases of CO2 and methane leading to rapid global warming and ocean acidification. Sound familiar? It's a recurring nightmare for Earth's climate. Marine life suffered significantly, with many shelled organisms and marine reptiles vanishing. On land, many large amphibians and non-dinosaur archosaurs, the distant cousins of dinosaurs and crocodilians, were eliminated. Imagine a world where crocodiles and their relatives were the dominant predators, overshadowing the nascent dinosaurs. This extinction event changed that entirely. So, who survived? And more importantly, who benefited? The answer, famously, is dinosaurs. Before the Triassic-Jurassic extinction, dinosaurs were just one of many groups of reptiles, often overshadowed by larger, more diverse archosaurs and synapsids. But because these competitors were wiped out, dinosaurs found themselves with an open playing field. It's like everyone else got kicked out of the talent show, and suddenly your band is headlining. They rapidly diversified, taking over ecological niches and evolving into the magnificent and terrifying creatures that would dominate the planet for the next 135 million years. Small nocturnal mammals also survived, largely by staying out of the way. Their small size and ability to burrow or hide gave them an edge when the world was literally burning. This really highlights a key genetic and biological survival strategy. Be small, be generalist, and be adaptable. Don't put all your eggs in one specialized basket. And finally, the most famous of them all, the Cretaceous-Paleogene, KPG extinction, around 66 million years ago. This is the one where the dinosaurs met their maker. An estimated 75% of all species, including all non-avian dinosaurs, pterosaurs, ammonites, mosasaurs, and many flowering plants, went extinct. The cause, a 1-2 punch that started with a global chill. While the Siberian traps are the culprit for the Permian and CAMP for the Triassic-Jurassic, here we have the Deccan traps in India, another gargantuan volcanic province. These eruptions were ongoing for hundreds of thousands of years, releasing vast amounts of gases and dust. This alone would have caused significant climate disruption, acid rain, and ocean acidification. But then, the knockout blow, an asteroid impact. A roughly 10 to 15 kilometers, 6 to 9 mile wide asteroid slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, creating the Chicxulub crater. The physics of this impact are mind-boggling. The energy released was equivalent to billions of atomic bombs. The immediate aftermath was catastrophic. 1. Massive firestorms. The impact vaporized rock, sending superheated ejecta across the globe. As these molten fragments re-entered the atmosphere, they created a global heat pulse, igniting forests and causing widespread firestorms. Imagine the entire planet catching fire simultaneously. 2. Tsunamis. The impact generated colossal tsunamis that scoured coastlines thousands of miles away. 3. Impact winter. Billions of tons of dust and soot were ejected into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun for months, possibly years. Global temperatures plummeted, plants died due to lack of sunlight, no photosynthesis, leading to a collapse of the food web from the bottom up. 4. Acid rain. Vaporized sulfur from the impact site combined with atmospheric water to create massive amounts of sulfuric acid, raining down across the globe, further acidifying oceans and destroying terrestrial ecosystems. It was a perfect storm of hellish conditions. The massive size of the dinosaurs, their specialized diets, and their long reproductive cycles made them particularly vulnerable to such a rapid and extreme environmental collapse. If you're big and need a lot of food, and all the food disappears, you're toast. Even the mighty T-Rex couldn't outrun global darkness and starvation. So how did life survive this, the most recent and perhaps most dramatic of the Big Five? Again, it comes down to a few key biological and genetic traits. 1. Small size. Organisms that were small could hide, burrow, or shelter in aquatic environments. They needed less food and could survive on detritus or stored seeds. 2. Generalist diet. Omnivores or scavengers had a huge advantage. They weren't reliant on a single type of plant or animal that might have vanished. 3. Aquatic or burrowing lifestyles. Water acts as a thermal buffer, protecting against extreme heat and cold. Burrowing provided shelter from fire, radiation, and extreme temperatures. Crocodilians and turtles, for example, largely survived. 4. Dormancy, spores, and seeds. Plants that could survive as seeds or spores, or animals that could hibernate, could wait out the worst of the impact winter. 5. Birds. Yes, birds are avian dinosaurs. A specific lineage of small feathered dinosaurs survived. Their ability to fly, find scattered food sources, and potentially their higher metabolic rates, allowing them to endure colder temperatures, gave them an edge. This is a prime example of evolutionary selection at its most brutal and effective. The KP extinction truly cleared the way for the age of mammals. With the dinosaurs gone, mammals, which had been scuttling around in the shadows for over 100 million years, rapidly diversified, taking over all the vacant niches. Our own ancestors, small shrew-like creatures, were among these survivors. You could say that without that asteroid, we probably wouldn't be here having this chat. Talk about a cosmic lottery. Looking back at all 5 of these incredible, terrifying chapters in Earth's history, a few patterns emerge about how life survives these cosmic reset buttons. Firstly, resilience is encoded in life's DNA. The sheer genetic diversity across species means that even if 90% perish, there's usually enough variety in the remaining 10% for evolution to work its magic. It's like having billions of backup files. Even if most get corrupted, some are bound to be salvageable. Secondly, adaptability trumps specialization in times of crisis. The highly specialized organisms, exquisitely tuned to a stable environment, are the first to go when that environment collapses. Generalists, like Lystrosaurus or our mammalian ancestors, are the ones who tough it out. They're not the prettiest or the fastest, but they are the most versatile. Thirdly, luck plays a huge role. Being in the right place, a burrow, a deep-sea vent, a specific region unaffected by initial tsunamis, at the right time. And finally, ecological succession and adaptive radiation are the recovery mechanisms. Once the pressure is off, the survivors rapidly evolve to fill the empty niches, leading to an explosion of new forms and species. It's evolution's way of saying, okay, that was bad, but let's try again, maybe this time with more feathers or bigger brains. From a psychology standpoint, understanding these events grounds us. It reminds us that Earth is a dynamic, often violent place, and life's persistence is nothing short of miraculous. It also offers a stark warning. While most of these past extinctions were caused by natural phenomena, volcanism, asteroid impacts, climate shifts, we humans are now capable of causing similar, albeit different, forms of ecological disruption. The Anthropocene, our current geological epoch, is already seeing species extinctions at rates comparable to past mass extinction events, driven by habitat destruction, pollution, and human-induced climate change. We have the unique cognitive ability, a psychological trait unique to our species, to understand these past events and potentially learn from them, to alter our course. The question isn't just how life survived in the past, but how we can ensure its thriving future, armed with the knowledge of these incredible ancient survival stories. Life on Earth has faced down global freezes, suffocating oceans, planet-spanning firestorms, and asteroid impacts that literally changed the course of evolution. And every single time, it found a way to not just survive, but to innovate, to adapt, and to eventually thrive in new and spectacular ways. It's the ultimate testament to the tenacity and sheer inventiveness of the living world. And it makes you wonder what incredible forms of life will emerge after the next big cosmic reset button is inevitably pushed. Because one thing is certain, life finds a way. It always has.